We have Cokie Roberts with us, a highly experienced political commentator in the United States. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Roberts.
So nice to be with you.
Florida is a turning point in deciding who the Republicans will pick to run against Barack Obama for the U.S. presidency. Contenders have been eliminated. Voters have narrowed the race to Mitt Romney and Newt Gingrich, two very different men. What does this tell us about the Republican establishment?
Well, the Republican establishment, such as it is, has weighed in very heavily against Newt Gingrich. I've really never seen anything quite like it. With former politicians, former Republican nominees like Bob Dole, who was the candidate in 1996, and John McCain, who was the candidate in 2008, just saying really strong things against Newt Gingrich. And it seems to be having an effect. That plus money, which Mitt Romney has a great deal of, have him running well ahead of Gingrich in the latest polls in Florida.
The economy is the biggest concern in this election, but the U.S. is still connected with the outside world. Foreign policy doves may vote Democrat, hawks may vote Republican. What actions by the U.S. or other countries, say Iran, Syria, or Afghanistan, could affect the course of the election?
Well, you know, foreign policy will not really be an issue unless it is. That's what we normally see here, is that the economy, particularly a bad economy such as we still have, is what voters care most about, unless some big foreign policy issue strikes them in the face. And generally that involves having American troops abroad or a disaster such as September 11th. So at the moment, it's not clear that Iran or Afghanistan would play much of a role at all in this election, but that could change overnight. And that's one of the things that frightens candidates so much, because they really can't control that. And they can be on course to be doing very well in an election, and then some big foreign policy event can blow up and change the entire course of the campaign.
There's still no political agreement on how to solve America's huge debt and deficit. Between Obama and those who want his job, is it clear yet where the viewers see the most realistic promise?
You know, it's really interesting. Hardly anyone is even talking about the debt and the deficit. The president gave his big State of the Union speech last week, and we never heard those words. It was remarkable. Obviously, it's still an enormous problem in this country, as it is in Europe. And there are still voices calling on the president and Congress to take stern action. But they have really not talked about it much at all. It's, of course, not something that anybody much wants to talk about, because all of the solutions are unpleasant. It's either cut programs that people like or raise taxes that people don't like.
What is the next big electoral day for us to watch? Is it in early March?
Yes. We have, after this spate of January activity, a quiet time after the Florida primary, where there's some little caucuses where people meet and decide what they want to do about a candidate in a variety of states. The very end of February, there are big primaries in Michigan and Arizona. And then March 6th, it's so-called Super Tuesday, where a lot of states hold their contest. And so that's the next really big one on up.
We'll be looking out for Super Tuesday. Thanks very much for joining us, Cokie Roberts in Washington.
So good to be with you, Adrian.